Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 16 millimeter film crew. I am Cindy.
And I'm Dale.
You can watch us on YouTube. You can like and comment on our YouTube videos and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can listen to us everywhere podcasts are found at 16 millimeter film crew podcast. And you can visit us on our website at www.16millimeterfilmcrew.com. This week, we watched Mickey 17, written and directed by Bong Joon-ho. A disposable employee is sent on a human expedition to colonize the ice world Niflheim. After one iteration dies, a new body is regenerated with most of his memories intact. This movie stars Robert Pattinson, Naomi Aki, Stephen Yeun, Toni Collette, and Mark Ruffalo. So, Dale, what were your thoughts about this one?
To me, it was typical Bong Joon-ho movie. Science fiction esque. After Snowpiercer, with a lot of comedy in it. Like he's good at that. He did that with Parasite as well. Kind of a black comedy, much like this is. Also both he has a trend of undercurring like political and social themes in his movies that for some people they'll go over their heads. So I picked up on those. Like they weren't really subtle at all. From the little planet being named Niflheim, Norse god of mythology. Then Mark Ruffalo kind of playing it very Trump-esque. He's also been very outspoken with his political views. Playing it really Republican-esque in his performance. Um, of course, Robert Pattinson is one of those actors who can kind of somehow shifts tones really quickly, embodies any role. He's very fluid. I thought this is his character work, especially his voice work in this movie was very good. Ability to play two different characters side by side and give them each different distinct personalities, not just in uh their lines they're saying, but little quirks that their body language has. Very excellent. Very underrated when it comes to that. But yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I can see why it people didn't really like it as much, especially coming off the success of Parasite, though. But I still enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, I did enjoy this one as well. I love Robert Pattinson, have been a fan for a very long time since I was a very young lass. So I am very invested in the Pattinson cinematic universe. I will watch almost anything that he's in, to be honest. But I was super excited about this because Bong Joon-ho is like one of like the top directors in the business working right now. He is just like to do a film like Snowpiercer and then follow it up with Parasite, like back to back hits, like that's pretty cool. Um, and a lot of his earlier work I really want to get into because I haven't seen a lot of his earlier work, but I really want to watch that. But I remember the effect that watching Parasite had on me when I saw it, and the fact that it went on to do so well critically and in terms of the box office. I just was like, yes, I'm invested in whatever he's going to do. I'm going to watch it. Um, and although this isn't like Parasite in the same way, where it's
Mm,
like very pointed social commentary. I think that it is still in a way. It's just like that mixed with the sci-fi. Maybe people got, I don't know, a little lost and or put off by like the spaciness of it or the fact that it was pointing to like real life politics in a lot of ways. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not really sure why other people didn't like it. Like I know that for me, even though this isn't like one of my favorites of his, I do still think that it's a really good movie. And I think that one of the reasons for that is Robert Pattinson. I feel like, I mean, Robert is doing an accent in this movie. He's doing an accent in a big way. But I thought that that was great. I thought that was such a great choice just to like do something very different because I think the whole point of the spaceship and like everyone who lives on it is that they're come from different places. So like he could have done his own accent, but I think that like the fact that he chose to do something different. Um and I've heard a lot of English actors say something similar where it's like they don't like working in their own accents. They would rather do something different. Maybe I guess it helps them in terms of the character of just like transforming into something different. But not only was he playing that and the accent work that went along with it, but he was also playing another version of himself that is kind of slightly different than the 17 versions or the ones prior to that. That kind of all seem to have the same personality. 18 does seem to have like a very different personality. So it was him playing two very different characters. Um, which I thought was really cool. And I thought that that showed his skill, his ability of performance. And like officially, I don't think anyone could ever discredit at this point can discredit like his ability as an actor. I think he's proven himself plenty by now. But also the rest of the cast was just great. Like I love Naomi Aki. I think she's
Mhm.
fantastic. Um, I love Stephen Yoon. Love Tony Collette. Love Tony Collette down. Like, love that woman. And Mark Ruffalo, like, I love seeing Mark doing these different things now that he's not doing the Marvel stuff. Like, he's just like totally embodying like completely different characters. And I'm obsessed with his post-Marvel glow up. In my opinion. I think he's doing great. I know he's done like other great roles before and while he was doing the Marvel stuff, but like
Mhm.
this post Marvel glow up, I'm obsessed with it. So honestly, I thought all the performances were fantastic. I liked the story. I loved that it was a dark comedy. Like I loved that I was like laughing during some of these like inherently violent, kind of really off kilter, off putting stuff. Um, I love the social commentary. I thought it was so poignant to what's going on today. It was shot wonderfully, like the VFX stuff, like oh, seamless. Like I don't know. I think I don't know, maybe people were just expecting like Parasite Part 2 in this
Mhm.
film, and so they just didn't feel the same way when they watched this one. But for me, as a sci-fi girly, as like a person who like loves this kind of stuff, I was like very into it. I thought it was great.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of, wondering about the whole, the production of this movie, the process that went to it. Because it seems like to me, of again, Netflix or Warner Brothers had originally had the rights to this movie, and then they got shopped to Netflix instead. Um, but I'm thinking like, most of Bong's movies are mostly for the Korean market,
Mm,
and no, and this a lot of the K dramas and stuff I've watched on like Netflix or other platforms, they all or a lot of Asian cinema or shows. They kind of had a trend for a while of using space and planetary exploration in a lot of the pictures. But I'm also questioning like it seems like this project got it started with he said the idea for a movie and then quickly off the success of like I think this was announced in development in like 2002, this movie, and I think
mm.
that's literally like a couple years off the success of Parasite. And I think the studio just signed it and said, "All right, Bong, you made Parasite. What you got?" I think kind of trying to beat the rush or still buy into the buzz of the success of Parasite. But it feels like this movie to me, it was not really designed with the American film market in mind. You know, I feel black comedies and a lot of the social comedy don't really do well in American cinema unless you're like three billboards out of Ellen, I can't even pronounce the last name in that movie, but the comedic black comedies is kind of hit or miss in the American film landscapes to a degree. Um, so I think that probably is playing into why this movie is not doing as well. And also, I think the marketing for this movie, we didn't really have much marketing for it. Other than me and you talking about it, other film spaces, I haven't heard anybody talking about it. The only other thing I knew about this movie as far as to see it was like, oh, because like AMC and stuff I do. I thought, oh, we're doing early screenings and stuff like a week before the movie goes out. Like other than that, I heard very little noise for the movie, like no commercials. Like you think a movie like this, you have a Bong Ho, you have Robert Pattinson, you have like Naomi Aki, you have Mark Ruffalo. Like this movie would have had a Super Bowl commercial, and it didn't. Like stuff like that did not happen for this project at all.
Yeah, and I think that that's probably why, and then we'll talk about it a little later when we talk about the numbers. But I feel like that's really the reason why this film isn't doing what I think it should be doing.
Yeah.
Or maybe what it would have done in like 2014 or something like that, where you had like there was the atmosphere, the film atmosphere was just a different place back then, where you could put a movie like this out, not have to do like a ton of marketing and stuff, and
Yeah.
it would still be able to perform. But I think that because the film landscape has changed so much, because it was delayed a couple of times, I know I was like waiting for this movie for a long time, and it kept getting pushed back and pushed back. And then when it did come out, the marketing was just like not, it was very limited. Like it only happened within like the last couple of weeks. And as we spoke about, I don't know if it was last week or the week before that, with a movie like Wicked or something like that, where they were on a press tour for a year.
Yeah.
I feel like that is where we are at now, where it's like you have to constantly be pushing your film in front of people's faces for months and months and months. Like you can't kind of slip it in, slide it in there for like a couple of weeks before it, starts showing. Like the work you have to do for a movie of that budget, like you just have to do so much work, and that does not seem to me like that's Bong's vibe, that's Rob's vibe. That doesn't seem like that's any one of their vibes. Like, doing huge marketing pushes does not seem like that's something that they think about. Um, so I feel like the marketing team, whoever was behind that at Warner Brothers or whoever, it's like that should have been a huge consideration for a movie of this size, because like you can't, everything has changed now. Everything has changed. And
Yeah.
so it's like you would think that a cast like this, a director like Bong, a movie like this would grab people's attention really quickly, but like I don't know, everything you just it's just like the work you have to put in is so much, and you have to do it for such a long time that like the way that they went about it, it wasn't gonna yield the best results
Mm.
in terms of box office, which is a shame because this movie is really good. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of sad that like more people aren't seeing it. But the thing with Parasite as well is like no one I didn't see like billboards or like any marketing stuff on my Instagram or anything like that for that movie. I heard about it because of other film spaces, like,
Yeah.
and that's the reason why I wanted to go watch it. You couldn't even see it in regular theaters.
Yeah.
So it's like, I just think in terms of like who Bong is and like how his career has gone, it definitely just feels like if they wanted this movie to do like mega numbers like their other big hits had, the marketing team would have to kind of carry the load of that and really stretch it and like make it like super obvious that this movie is coming out, because the people involved, it just doesn't seem like that's something that they're invested
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. I mean, but other than those inconsistencies, yeah, I really enjoyed this movie a lot. Like I said, I'm a big fan of like sci-fi and stuff like that. Like I thought the socio-political themes in this movie were spot on. Like not to relate it to what's going on in the U.S., but you kind of have to in a way. You have the issue of these migrant workers or people not wanting to do work. And, there's a push for low career earners or unskilled labor. They're viewed as expendable. You have, our Patterson character Mickey 17. He's expendable on the ship where, they say, oh, if he dies, I don't care. We just clone another one. Like he's just a consumable. It doesn't really matter. You have things like that. You got of course, Ruffalo's performance as a failed presidential senatorial candidate, going on to like lead out this colonization campaign, which is funny because if you know the history of a lot of colonial projects, way back when they're either funded by governments or they're also funded by churches as well. The Puritans came here for that reason. So it's kind of funny how they integrated that into that, and they kept referring it instead of the church, kept trying to refer to it the company anyway, because a lot of
Mhm.
these colonial projects when they were coming here to this the Americas, they weren't saying it was run by the church, they were calling the companies. So I love that little historical you know tidbit with it. And you have the social cues of him wanting to create a superior race of human beings on the planet. His ranting and raving against the natives, calling them aliens, and the only act is like, you idiot, we're the aliens, they're the natives of this planet, which calls to mind the constant interactions colonials always had with native speakers to a country. They were the savages, they were the foreigners, just because you had superior intellect and stuff like that. So I loved like really those elements like it's really piqued my interest how much he took from real life and historical inspirations to draw into a sci-fi comedy.
Yeah, and he didn't I feel like he probably didn't even need to go that far back. Like everything that's happening right now with immigration, with Christian values being heavily pushed into our government and the decisions that are made there. Having someone, I don't know, it was kind of giving Elon with the whole let's just go to space, but like nothing works.
Yeah,
um and like start a new civilization. And the way that he at that dinner scene was really interesting. Where he was talking to the I think she's a Russian, maybe
Kira.
from the Slavic countries. Yeah, that woman,
Mhm.
who had lost her best friend, maybe her lover. It was giving sapphic. I'm not really sure, but um, and he was just like, "Yeah, you would be perfect to start, our new civilization, and you're pure, like blah blah, like very Aryan race mess, like."
Eugenics, her
Yeah,
intelligence, yeah,
which is how a lot of these tech billionaires and folks like that, how they speak, how they think about things, like the fact that they have like underground bunkers, like ready in case of what, it was just giving all of that. And even I found, I mean, Mark Ruffalo was like his character was like very kind of, you can see the parallels between him and other figures, like right-leaning kind of people like that. But I thought Toni Collette was really interesting in her character because I felt like that a person who like appears to be nice at first or like seems to be friendly or like trying to be like politically correct when she was like trying to help him out and say, oh, don't say mankind, say humankind, like say, who seems like they're all about like just trying to do like a natural like effortless way of living, and then but they are just as toxic and terrible as like the people that they're married to, and do not care about other people, just care about themselves and enriching themselves and furthering their own, desires or whatever that may be. Um, I found that really interesting. I found that the whole concept of being an expendable and the fact like that you could just kill off one identity and print out another one because no one sees you as valuable is very like indicative of like capitalism, and just the fact that like if you don't want to do the job, there's someone else who can do it that will pay nothing. Like
yeah,
I thought it was interesting that like every time Mickey messed up, he, they're not getting money, but like he when his food would get reduced, and so he would just be like hungry and like living on crumbs, like literally just it's just really everything that was in there is the reason why I love Bong's
yeah,
movies, because it just speaks to so many different things on so many different levels. And like the more you think about it, the more it just hits like, yeah, this is the world that we're living in. It's really awful.
yeah.
That's why
Even
you need a humor.
yeah, you need the comedy to to give you the
Yeah.
bright spots. Like it's funny, like as you said, it's sci-fi. It's supposed to be futuristic, but they're still dealing with the same stupid problems humanity has always had for billions of years. Like no matter how much we evolve and get smarter, we still reduce to our basic instincts. There's always has to be kings, lords, and serfs, no matter what. You know.
Mm,
Um. So yeah, and I like loved how not even just Robert Pattinson's role of Mickey's as the Mickeys and how his character changes. Naomi Ackie too. Like
mm,
like I love how she's able. Like Naomi Ackie is one of those actors. She could do like serious stuff, like kind of like Don't Blink, and be very dramatic and stuff like that. And but then she can switch on a dime and do this like crazy psychopath thing, which I've seen a lot of times in her roles. Like she's like one of those actresses. So like, oh, the role demands you like switch personalities and like turn on like a switch. Like she does that beautifully all the time. She's like starts out as a serious one in the relationship, and then somehow she's like, oh, like she becomes like commanding and stuff like that, which is funny. Or when she finds out, oh, she has two Mickeys, the fantasies just pop in her head. She goes, oh, screw the rules. I'm gonna have fun with this. Like I love that like little switch, kind of thing she had going on too. And like you said, with the Tony Collette's character of Mark Ruffalo's wife is very indicative to like the power that white women tend to have, like behind the scenes. Like it's not out there, but it's really like really overt. Where it reminds her character reminds me a bit of, it's not the same degree, but Zendaya's in Challengers, where she's actually controlling um both the males in it and pulling strings to their career and pushing for like, oh, I couldn't have success for this interest, and now I'm gonna drive you and control you to be my success, that kind of thing.
Mm,
And
mm,
because the woman is pulling the strings behind the scenes, she doesn't have to have the guard of being referred to as a bitch or whatever, because she's not the one actually in power.
mm. Yeah, it was giving Karen for sure. But also like those mommy bloggers, like the mommy blogger to like right-wing conspiracy pipeline that a lot of these ladies are on. Like that's what her character was giving to me. I was like, okay, I see where this is going. Um, but I also just love Rob and Naomi's chemistry. I thought they had like fantastic chemistry, and I love their relationship. It was really sweet. Uh, and even like Mark Ruffalo and Toni Collette's relationship was also like pretty genuine. And I thought that was interesting that like as messed up as this world is, everyone was still able to like find someone who matched their freak. And I really thought that that was fun. I was like, oh, this is nice. Like it's a nice little. And there was like one doctor who was like a part of that little scientist group who also like really cared about the Mickeys and like tried to help,
Hmm.
made the little translator for the animals, the creeps. Um, to me, this film kind of felt like a live action like Studio Ghibli film where like things just kind of happen and you're like,
Happen, yeah.
huh? But then you're just like, okay. Like you're just gonna go with it. Like that's how I felt watching this movie. I was like, okay. And then they had the cute little like the creeps were supposed to be creepy, but they were actually really cute, like little baby ones. And I was like, it's giving those little Totoros like that are in those movies, or I was just like, you just wanted to make a stuffed animal out of this and sell it. Like I know that's why you created these.
Yeah.
Like,
And their design is perfect because like he said it's the same person he's worked with for since his movie The Host, designing
mhm,
monsters and stuff like that, and the intentional choice of making them look like it's very scary when they open their mouth. You don't see teeth, you just see tentacles, but your mind says,
yeah.
"Oh, those are teeth," and it goes to scary. Like to me, they look like I don't want to pronounce it right, but tedagars, or they're like little microscopic insects, whatever, look just like those. But I love the duality of them looking, so fearsome and scary and dangerous, but how docile they are. Looks can be deceiving, which once again is a socio-political thing hidden in there. Like the big bad monster that you think is a monster is not the actual monster. That
Right.
that kind of thing. So
Yeah. And like the creation of the device to communicate with them and the fact that they actually speak, it was giving like a very surrealist, like what? But I liked it. And I liked it because you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the things that appear in Arrival,
mm,
like the aliens that come down and they have this like modem of communication. And I think they eventually talk to Amy Adams, if I'm remembering the movie correctly. So it
mm,
was kind of giving me a little bit of that, which I thought was kind of cool. Um, I will say I don't know if this movie needed an IMAX release. I watched an IMAX
mm.
and I didn't really get the IMAX experience of it until maybe like the last 30 minutes. So I don't know if it needed that. But sure. I guess.
I
I
mean,
guess.
the draw of the IMAX is, and I don't think this movie was actually shot in IMAX. A matter of
That's
fact.
something that did they use the cameras? Is that why?
So, but like the idea of like upscaling to IMAX is, oh, we can charge extra like $5 for this ticket and boost,
Yeah, they
prices and
got me.
and income. So, and they got you. So
Because I was like, oh, is it gonna be like? Because I'm like, this
so
is a big movie, so I was like, okay, well, I guess they must have shot on IMAX cameras. I guess they whatever. But then it wasn't like it didn't really do anything. You would not even think about it, the IMAX nature of it until like the very end. which I
Mm,
do think is a little bit of a ripoff.
mm.
Not really, because like for Chris Nolan to do like a historical biopic and have that be an IMAX, but you like feel the IMAX
Yeah,
like it. They first of all they shot with the cameras, but also like when you're in the theater, like all of it is a full experience, like
yeah,
watching Oppenheimer. This one you could have saw in a regular theater and probably be fine. So I don't know. They did get me, but I was like, whatever.
yeah. But Nolan, he shoots on IMAX because he likes the scope, and he intentionally, and not even it's not even using the camera for IMAX. He literally shoots with the idea of I'm using this camera. Let me give you the visuals that best speak with this camera. So
Who
it's and
Bong?
that no Nolan.
Oh, okay,
That's what I'm
yeah. Mhm.
saying. Just because it's released in IMAX doesn't mean it works with IMAX necessarily. I think if you're gonna shoot that camera, you have to be intentional with what you're shooting with.
Yeah.
You have to fill the screen with visuals, and so what majority of this movie is, much like Snowpiercer, it's a black object set against a white background for the most part. So I don't really think it necessitates the IMAX format. So
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't. Even though I thought everything looked fantastic, like I thought the camera movements were really smooth. I thought everything was pretty intentional in terms of what we were seeing.
hmm,
Um, I I don't know. I liked how it looked a lot. Like it looks really good. It's
hmm,
just that like it didn't to me it didn't warrant the IMAX thing because it didn't bring anything. Like when you're watching a movie and then your like chair is shaking and you feel like so
hmm,
involved. Like that's not really how this movie felt. That's not even like the chair was not shaking, like, and nothing was moving. It was just like towards the very end during the action sequences, that stuff came in a little bit more. But like, I don't know, it's not. There's such a small part of the film that I don't think you can justify it
yeah.
in that way. But other than that, I did think that it was a really good film. And I hope more people go see it because I just
Hmm.
feel like
Yeah,
I feel I think it's an important. I feel like we need these kind of movies. So I just yeah.
it's in the vein of like the creator, with John David Washington, that kind of sci-fi move stuff.
It's much
And
better than that
it's
one
much
though. Yeah.
the creator has slowly grown on me though, to a
Oh,
degree.
has it? Okay.
Yeah.
I
But
haven't
it's it's
revisited.
it's it's much like in that vein of sci-fi, where they're trying to create new stories, like very much like Ad Astra vibes I got from it.
Mhm.
What's the movie with the girl? She's an actress, she's a model, but she Carla Devine, her and Dane, I forgot the boy's last name, had a movie a couple years ago that I watched. I enjoyed it so much in the veins of trying to create like original IPs and properties using sci-fi, but sci-fi in itself is always gonna have some kind of socio-political themes inherent to it, no matter what. That's
Yeah.
just the genre.
Mhm.
Yeah, I loved it. I wish it could have been released when it was supposed to be released, like you said, like this movie, like being delayed multiple times. Had it come out initially when it was supposed to, probably like 2000, what, 23, 24, probably would have
Mhm.
worked a lot better in the box office. So
Yeah. So it's it's good. It's good. You guys should watch it.
yeah, yeah, just watch it for a Bong's directing, the story, and of course Robert Pattinson's performance. Like he did an amazing job with it.
Yes.
So we spoke about, Mickey 17, the amazing picture, but we've also mentioned a lot of the audience response to it and the multiple delays. And so far the movie's only made about 17% of its box office budget so far. Um uh and it's kind of if they were aiming at least potentially to open and get the number one spot, like we said, like uh, we Parasite did, um, and it barely got the number one spot from Captain America. I don't think it did from Captain America: Brave New World. Um, but there's the odds are it's due to most likely the constant times the movie was delayed either in production or the release date was moved. multiple times. Of course, the movie did premiere at the Berlin Film Festival in February 15th of this year, and it premiered in South Korea the 28th, uh, before its global rollout. But in the US theatrically, it did release March 7th. It was originally scheduled to release March 29th of 2024. But that was on pause. That got removed due to the SAG-AFTRA strike going on at 2023. Then it was rescheduled for January 31st of this year. Um, and it would have opened 3 days later in 3 days earlier in South Korea. Then it got pushed back to April 17th, to take advantage of the Easter weekend and also to avoid the animated movie Dogman. Um, but then they moved it back up, swapping with the release date of Sinners to um March this March 7th. So it's a constant shifting of that. Also we've spoken about the lack of promotion going on for movies, like we mentioned multiple times. Like nowadays, of movies you actually have to at least do a couple months, like 3 to 4 months of promotion. And not every studio is going to option for it to get that big, year long rush. We saw with Barbie, we saw it Oppenheimer, we saw with Wicked. So yes, and this is honestly a Warner Brothers picture. We've spoken ad nauseum the issues going on at Warner Brothers on different levels at different parts. But I think part of the issue is Warner Brothers did not do their due diligence in focusing on a release date the um and also the lack of marketing. There's just not a good sign for Warner Brothers because they were willing to give a director an auteur director, a director with a lot of fanfare who's very creative, um, a chance on a project. But of course, knowing Warner Brothers' track record, if they don't make their money back, the odds are they're not gonna sign. They're not gonna give Bong another chance, and he'll probably go to another studio and they'll market it correctly, and he'll do well, and Warner Brothers will be pissed off again. But odds are they're not gonna be open up to another movie like this, which doesn't bode well for Robert De Niro's um movie Alto Nights, with also stars Robert Pattinson and also Michael B. Jordan's movie Sinner, which swaps release dates with this. So yeah, it doesn't look good on Warner Brothers' end for their lack of involvement with this movie so far.
Okay, so in other news, The Last of Us season 2 trailer has officially dropped. The season will premiere on HBO on April 13th. Again, did not play the game, so don't know what to expect. I think I did get spoiled a little bit, unfortunately, by someone or
Mm,
something. So I kind of know what's gonna happen, which kind of sucks, but also I don't know how it's gonna happen. So at least that mystery is still left. But
mm,
I'm very excited. I was listening to the podcast of someone else and they were talking about Severance, but they were saying how like they hadn't felt the same way about a show where they were like just completely invested in like every single week anticipating it since The Last of Us. And I felt the same way, and it was just interesting that like someone else felt the same way as I did. But yeah, I this was a show that like had me gripped like every single week. And I don't like zombies because they're always too fast. But I just think in terms of the storytelling and the performances and just like the world that they created over there, it was just like so incredible that like I was like, I will be watching this every single week. And I'm very excited for it to come back because there was a lot of stuff that was when it left, untied, undealt with. And it definitely seems like we're going to be dealing with a lot of that this season. And they're also bringing on new characters. I know Jeffrey Wright is a part of it now, which is really interesting, cool. Like I love him and Caitlin Deaver. So like I'm excited. I don't know. I'm not like anticipating the big moments of it because I did not play the game, so I don't know what those moments are going to be. So as just like a regular fan, like I'm excited to see what they have, and it's coming on just as Severance will be ending, so I don't have to. So I'll have something to hold on to, during the springtime, during this transition moment. I won't be left um not fed. So I'm excited.
Yeah. They don't. If I remember correctly, they don't plan to overtake where they're at in the game series. That's if they decide to continue with it. So far, they've been Lucky Dog or Naughty Dog, sorry, has been focused on just doing remasters for both Last of Us and Last of Us Part Two for newer console generations. Um, uh, this second season is supposed to do mostly with Last of Us Part Two. It's supposed to deviate a bit from it. Um, they said the first season includes, of course, the first game and parts of other Last of Us Left Behind, which was a downloadable prequel to the first game, focused on L. Don't remember the movie actually having much to do with that game. So we'll potentially see more aspects of that in part two. Of course, the creators, uh, Craig Mazin and Neil Ruckman. Neil Ruckman also directed and co-wrote, wrote and co-directed the games. He said he doesn't want to it be a filler between Last of Us One and Last of Us Two as far as the games. So like, and knowing that this deviates from the actual game. Sorry, I'm expecting this to a lot of the first season to be filler because they said Last of Us Part Two is supposed to do multiple seasons. So odds are we're going to get a lot of filler, even though they don't want to. That's the only way I see it happening, since they don't want to overtake, the games. So yeah. So moving on to other, I guess entertainment, light fair news. Uh, with Love Megan, featuring Meghan Markle, a lot of these celebrity influencers, the new trend is them to do lifestyle content. Of course, Aisha Curry has her podcast, her book club, her cookware. Meghan Markle is doing the same thing with her, and well, this time Harry, not Harry, yeah, Harry's not involved with it. Um, but it's just focused on her. It's a bit of a homemaking reality show. It released amazingly. It released what, the fourth, if I remember correctly, March 4th on Netflix. And then as of like the 7th, Netflix already announced that the filming for the second season had already been completed by March 7th. So the series was actually supposed to premiere the January 15th, but they postponed due to wildfires in California. But it looks like the rave numbers that they got, in interim, even though they had already filmed, warranted, on its release date to do a season two, which I don't really see it, because they could have just did more episodes, because this series only had 8 episodes for the first season. So I don't know, but there are also concerns about, of course, the lack of authenticity from Megan, and like I said, a lot of these other celebrity influencers who go on this route. Of course, UK tabloids are talking about her being estranged from her father, and you have celebrity chefs saying it's painful to watch due to the cooking or stuff they didn't want to do. Um, but yeah, no matter what Meghan Markle does, even no matter what she tries to, she's always going to become a lightning rod. People are always going to deride whatever she does. So yeah,
I could have like a whole separate podcast on like the royals and like Meghan Markle and, and Prince Harry in particular, and just like what all of that consisted of, and like it is it's insane the level of like vitriol she gets in particular. Like not even Harry gets that much kind of hatred, and he wrote a whole book about like just literally dragging every member of the royal family, like, and he doesn't even get as much criticism as she does, for obvious reasons. She is a black woman, so like, but I feel like when I was looking at, and I didn't even try to look at it, I think it just popped up on my screen of like media from the UK in particular saying that it was cringy and out of touch and whatever. It's like they will find like literally any reason to speak badly about her, like any reason at all.
mm,
And I think that's partly because of it's getting them engagement, it's getting them numbers, it's getting them money. So like they have a monetary and financial and reason to continue to speak about her this way, because it's, I guess, I don't know, I guess it's paying their bills, but it's pathetic. Like let's just call it what it is. Like it's truly pathetic, because this was what she was doing before she got into the royal family.
yeah,
She had a lifestyle blog.
Yeah.
So like it makes sense for her to do this. And in my opinion, when they left the royal family and signed this deal with Netflix, this is the type of stuff that they should have been doing. I don't think the documentary about their love story or talking about the royal family, I don't think all that was necessary. I feel like once they had the interview with Oprah, that's to me
That's it.
as far as yeah, they needed to go in terms of talking about the royal family. And because of the documentary and because of the Spare, the book Prince Harry wrote, I think it's continued to sour their reputation, especially across the pond, of like how people felt about them,
Mhm,
because it felt like they were just airing their petty grievances.
mhm.
But in my opinion, I feel like this is what she should have been doing from jump. Like
Yeah.
just do your lifestyle stuff, be a rich woman. Like that's what you're doing. Like, I don't know. To me, this makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Like, invite the famous friends over and make, I don't know, lemon squares or whatever she does in that show. I'm not like a cook show
Yeah.
type of person, so like I don't watch this stuff, but I'm to me, I'm like, yeah, this is what you should be doing. So just go for it. Like and the numbers and the fact that like they're already greenlighting a season 2 and stuff, like it just speaks to like probably what people wanted from her
Mm.
is just like rich woman living in California, just making stuff and hanging out
Yeah.
with famous people. Like, yeah, that seems reasonable. And like I don't see how it's out of touch. Like she's technically a princess, so like I don't know what else she should be doing other
Yeah.
than this. Like she's not gonna go back and do the Suits reunion or whatever. Like she's not gonna do that. So like just do this. Like, go for it. I'm glad
Hey,
that
you
it's
know what?
working. I'm glad that she's thriving.
That might not be bad, you know. Show up on Suits LA, you know. Just pop up.
Yeah, she's not going.
She's not going
She
to do.
won't do
But yeah,
it.
it's
She
it's
won't do it.
clear. It's clear. It's I don't. It's the issues with Megan are multiple fold. Of course, on the UK side, it's the revelation of she being a biracial woman. You know, that one drop rule. Oh, she can't be. And then her being a former divorcee, you know, over there. And then also, I think for a lot of even some American women here as well, the issue is, oh, William's married. I can't get William, but maybe I can get Harry. That thing of jealousy. All those
Mm,
play into the dislike of Meghan Markle, especially also American fan bases for the fact that they only knew her from Suits. They knew she was an actress. And then
mm.
so a lot of that is a lot of bitter bitter hate for no reason at all. You know, she just wants to do her thing. So
Yeah, let her do her thing.
yeah,
And Prince Harry could have just been, on the side, not doing. I'm
and
not
then
really sure what he does. I know that he works with like, I think his charity stuff around like disabled veterans and stuff. I think that's great.
yeah,
Just do that. You know what I'm saying?
and
Like I feel like they're fine. Like they have jobs that they can do.
and here's the thing: whenever they come out with anything, you know, you mentioned them doing an interview, them doing a documentary, them doing a book, and then her doing this. You know, here's the thing: they see there's a need. No matter what they say, they're always going to be the opposite side of the British media or whatever, coming counter to that. And once the British media goes on their ramparts and their diatribes, it ups viewership. Like, oh, what's this tabloid talking about? Oh, Meghan and Harry. What's the issue now? Oh, let me go watch that. People and then people end up watching it because we're drama filled people. We love drama. And then also the other once it enters the British media, they start talking about it. Guess what? The British people end up hate watching it so they can complain about Megan. So they're like I don't think I think they're doing that on purpose. Like, look, you're gonna talk about us no matter what. So we're gonna make you talk about us so I can put money in my pocket. You know, the Netflix documentary, the people hated it. They watched it to record numbers. This show watched the record numbers. We already got season 2 filmed and ready to go. Like that kind of thing. They're buying into the hate, which I can't knock. I would if people were this petty and well, not well, I would say they're be kind of ones being petty. If people have this much vitriol against me and my wife, I'm gonna cash in and make money off of that. You know, that's your issue. You fill in my pockets, you stupid idiot. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like again, could have a whole other podcast about this,
Yeah.
truly. But like I feel like when it comes to Meghan and Harry, there is legitimate criticism. I don't want to be like, oh, the British tabloids are just
Yeah.
like blah 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 blah. And it's like, yes, they are. Like they are being implicitly racist and misogynist and terrible. Like that
Yeah.
is true. What is also true is that I think Meghan and Harry don't understand how fame works. Like they think that like I don't know what it is. I feel like when it comes to Meghan Markle in particular, I think she met Prince Harry and thought, oh, this is just like a really cute, nice, rich man who does charity work. Like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
And had no idea what it meant to be in the royal family. And he didn't really do anything to like, it doesn't seem like from what I've seen, like he did that much to like help accustom her to
Prepare
that
her. Yeah.
or prepare for that world. So she just got kind of duped because she was just like, what is all of this? And then, they left because it was just too much. But I feel like they don't post leaving the royal family. It seemed like they didn't want to capitalize on the fact that they were members of the royal family who had left.
Hmm.
They wanted to kind of do their own thing, but the only reason they were signing these multi-million dollar deals with Netflix and Spotify was because they were members of the royal family. It wouldn't have been the same if they were just like regular famous
Yeah.
people. So because they don't want to capitalize on it, it kind of put this weird thing in between. Like it put this weird like just distance constant. Oh yeah, I forgot. I don't know exactly the term.
Convoluted.
No, whatever. Because I can't think of it right now. But it did make it kind of weird because it's like, well, you guys are trying to run away from the thing that's making you famous.
Hmm.
Um, and so when they did the docu-series, it was just like, why are you doing this? If no other reason, it's just like to make money, right? Or why did Harry write that book? To make
Make
money.
money. Yeah.
But it means that like how people view you because you left the royal family is now worsened because they think that you're just being petty.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's a push and pull thing that they have going on, and that's why I said that her doing this lifestyle thing should have been what they did originally. Because to me, it's like all of that other stuff kind of just worsened their reputations, and
Yeah.
not for like young people who kind of know what's up, but for people overseas where they're from, where they were, living and doing their jobs, like there's already an industry built off of making you guys look bad, and it kind of just fed into that. And I feel like if we just didn't do any of that mess and just, did our work with veterans, did our work with our lifestyle brand, like that would have been cool. Cause it's just like they would have still had things to say,
Yeah.
but I don't think how it would be viewed, it would be the same way. Like, oh, they're just, being annoying or cringy or they whatever. Like I feel like the tenor of like how we viewed them would be slightly different,
Yeah.
not wholly, but like slightly. So I don't know, but I'm glad that they're doing fine. They seem like they're
Yeah.
doing great.
Yeah.
So, and I wish nothing but healing for them. I hope that they're okay because honestly, being in the royal family, like I'm so glad that they left.
Sounds like it sucks. And, yeah, and like you said, had they just did this, you look kind of stupid being vengeful and vindictive of against a lady who just wants to make like cakes and cookies the whole
Yeah,
time and decorate her
exactly.
house. Like you look stupid. Like all she's
Right.
doing is like making brownies and talking with her friends, drinking wine, and you're being hateful and spiteful. So yeah,
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about what we've been watching. Actually, I think we watched the same thing. We
we watch the same
watched
thing. Yeah.
Daredevil Born Again.
Yeah.
So what were your thoughts?
Loved it. I do. We mentioned before, when I spoke about Captain America, Brave New World, the amount of reshoots they went through. That, like, for the word I've been hearing from people, is like there are like five different versions of that movie out somewhere in the edit. All the reshoots and stuff they did. Um, but it was clear that they took their time with this property to like of course, this show also had reshoots as well. You know, try like after the whole upheaval with Disney Marvel, them bringing in that, we've known about the issues behind it before with things like the Defenders and Iron Fist stuff like that. The issues and people had with She-Hulk. So it's clear that they went back and like Kevin Feige said, like we're gonna scrap this. We're gonna scrap this and start over. So it looks like it was easier decision to restart this than it was to redo Captain America: Winter Soldier. And this project is so tight. Like the first two episodes are so tight. Like after recording, like the next episode comes out the 11th, which is the day you guys will be hearing this podcast. But yeah, there's two episodes were so cohesive and so tight, and tightly put together with also callbacks to the first couple of series. And yeah, it's different intentionality, and it's so still beautifully done. And I'm happy they got rid of the She-Hulk yellow mustard colored suit. He's back in all red. So
Yeah, I watched the first episode and I was like, yeah, this is good.
yeah,
I don't know. I didn't feel because I remember when I watched the original series on Netflix. I think I like binged that in like 2 weeks or whatever. I really, really liked it. But I coming back to it now, like everything looks like the budget was raised for sure. Like it seems like they're spending a lot more money on this one than they did on the Netflix one.
mm,
Um, but I don't know. I wasn't. There was something about the writing of it that wasn't. It wasn't hitting whatever spot it hit for me. I don't know. When did I watch that show? In 2018, I think was when I
yeah,
watched it.
yeah,
Um, and maybe I was just in a different place back then, so like I was just eating it up. I don't know. But I also thought it was really good. So like maybe let me just watch the second episode and see how I feel after that. And if I
yeah,
still don't feel like locked in, then I guess it's just not for me. But like I was very excited about it because I just loved the show so much and the character.
yeah.
But there's something about it that it's I
The
don't
first
know.
the first two episodes are very exposition dumps. Like, hey, you haven't seen the show since like 2019. Here's a recap of what happened at the end. Oh, you also saw Charlie Cox and Daredevil and these characters in two other Marvel properties. This is what, if you didn't watch it, here's a Cliff Notes version of what happened to them. Here, oh, he got shot by Echo at the end of the movie, and Echo, because you guys didn't watch Echo clearly.
I
So we're
didn't.
just gonna, yeah.
I
So
don't know what you're talking about.
the first two, I didn't watch it either. So, but it's clear the first two episodes are just an exposition dump, and I do feel like with this third episode, which comes out like I said Tuesday, they're gonna get the ball rolling and get back to the original formula that they had the first go around with Niflheim.
Okay, so I'll stick with it. I'll stick with it and see how I feel.
Yeah,
I'll do that.
it's not like I said in Mickey 17 our review. It's not lost to me like all these villains somehow have political aspirations.
Yeah.
Why is it that comic book villains or movie villains always have sinister political aspirations, and people suddenly forget? They do mention that though in Daredevil, where actor Wilson Fisk is elected mayor of New York, and he kind of goes to the funeral or the grave site of a policeman, and the police commissioner is like, why the hell are you here? We know who you are. That kind of thing. At least they acknowledge it, because a lot of times in these kind of properties, the villain becomes a mayor or political figure. We just forget the stupidity from multi-guilty convictions in the White House that people have done. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, everything is. I think that just shows how much our world has changed and how like what we're focusing on. It's very much like these bigger themes of like power and abuse of power and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very telling.
Very telling.
It's very telling.
Like art is always, it might be subjective, but art is also a form of protest. So
yes, very true.
yeah.
Okay, so I think that's it from us this week. We make sure you check out all of our social media and support us if you can. But you're all doing well and taking care of yourselves. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Goodbye.
Au revoir.